Hello everybody, here we are today and we're going to be doing a video that may not be super fun for a team that you could be a fan of, and that is talking about some teams that I feel like their playoff chances are already done, even though they aren't officially eliminated. But before we start, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get into the sad stuff. Now, I know that for a lot of us, we are aware that the NHL is a long season compared to most sports. You know, obviously baseball goes on a long time, but an 82-game season is long for professional sports. And you look at this and you realize the fact that if you get out to a bad start, there is some room to be able to build yourself back up to crawl out of that hole to try to make it back to the playoffs. However, there are some teams that unfortunately I feel like already have lost their chance of making it to the postseason, and we're going to be talking about those teams today. So we're going to go in alphabetical order, talking about the season that they've had so far, and then kind of whether or not it feels like it's a disappointment for them. I'm going to be honest, there's only 4 teams on here today, and I'm going to say that the Montreal Canadiens were listed as having a 5% chance of making the playoffs, but considering where they stand compared to some other teams on this list, I'm not mentioning them today. I think that while the chance is really slim, there are some other teams that I'm like, you know, just take a pin and then put a mark through their team for the standings because they aren't making it. So the first team we have today is the Anaheim Ducks. So Anaheim, at the time of recording this being Monday, has a 2% chance of making it to the playoffs. This is a team that's going to be building for the future for a little bit, understandably so. However, it just kind of feels difficult because the Ducks ended up having a good year not too long ago, and then last year finished with the worst record in the NHL. Ended up taking the 2nd overall pick, and then going into this season, you knew there's going to be a lot of young guys getting playing time and a lot of young guys developing. I'll say this, personally, I feel like the Ducks are one of the more entertaining bad teams to watch this season. However, I just gotta say that while they are entertaining, they are worse than they should be. I know that the expectations weren't very high for the Ducks, but to have that 9-game losing streak like they did recently is just very frustrating. And it's one of those things that in recent memory, it's become a norm for Anaheim to have these long losing streaks. And I just feel like despite the fact that they're developing, you cannot be able to say, oh, we went almost 10 games without picking up a win. And right now they look like they're probably going to finish 7th in the division. Would they have finished higher than 6th? Probably not. But still, I'm looking at this team and saying, despite the fact that they are pretty much a lock to miss, I do feel like they should have been a little bit later in the season that it was a lock. The next team to talk about is the Columbus Blue Jackets. They are currently listed as a team that has a 5.3% chance of making it to the postseason. How they're able to be above Montreal, I really don't understand, but I'm not the guy doing the math and the simulations. The point remains that this is a team that has pumped some money into the club and they continue to underperform. I get that there's going to be young guys. There's been guys that have bounced around from the AHL to the NHL. Completely understand that. But with the coaching drama to start off the year and Patrick Laine and Johnny Gaudreau not performing despite the fact that they are paid very well, and that is something that, you know, is a talking point for the team right now. It just feels really, really heartbreaking, I guess, if you're a Jackets fan, which I do root for the Jackets, one of my 2 favorite teams. They should not be falling apart at this point of the year. You know, again, started off on the wrong foot, but looking at guys like Johnny and Patrick, they need to be able to go out there and perform because this is a team that at the moment has young guys that shouldn't have to be expected to go out there and perform at a high level. The Jackets, I hate to say it, but about 20-some games into the year, again, take that pin out and just mark right through their name because they are not making it to the playoffs yet again. The third team that we're talking about here is the Chicago Blackhawks. Chicago right now is listed at having a 1.2% chance of making the playoffs. I'm not mad about that. Again, looking at this team compared to the 2 previous teams, especially Columbus, the Hawks really weren't expected to compete this year. I picked them to be the worst team in their division, I believe, in my season preview. Right now, they're currently 8th. You know, they went into this year having drafted Connor Bedard. They brought in Taylor Hall and Corey Perry, bringing in some veteran guys to kind of help some of these other young guys as well kind of develop and grow and learn the game. Hasn't gone well. Taylor Hall out for the year with an injury, and then Corey Perry, whatever happened there has happened. So, yeah, Perry is no longer with the team, and Hall is not going to play. However, there are good signs. Again, the biggest thing being Connor Bedard. He is playing at nearly a point per game level and has had some nights that you say, wow, this team has not played particularly well. However, he's been able to almost get them wins. So if this is what he looks like as a rookie, thinks of how he could continue to grow and what he could be for this team in the future. And again, seeing some of these young guys develop. But again, I'm not mad with where the Hawks stand right now. They, in my mind, were never going to be a playoff team. So the fact that they're at 1.2% isn't bad, as they're set to pick up another good player in the draft. And things are looking good for them in a weird way. And then the final team we have here today is the San Jose Sharks. You knew they were going to be on here. They currently sit at the bottom of the league. Their playoff chances are 0.1%. So they're the only team in the NHL that sits below 1% chance of making it. Again, I talked about the Arizona Coyotes in my most recent video before this, talking about how the Coyotes got off the really slow start to a couple of seasons ago. San Jose was in that same boat, as they ended up starting off really, really slow. They had 2 games that just were painful for them to watch, with the Canucks beating them 10-1, and then Pittsburgh beating them, I want to say 10-2. Point remains, they've been in some games where they've really got blown out. They're not making the playoffs, but at the same time, they were never expected to. This is a team that's had to shed some salary. They've had to trade out some guys. They've had to build for the future. This is a team that ideally would like to get the first overall pick this year, and at the moment they are definitely going to be able to do it. So yeah, San Jose, definitely the first team that you ever could have crossed out with a pin or a marker for them at this point in the season. And yes, you could probably argue there are some other teams as well that could be thrown on in here about 25 games into the year. However, these are teams that I would just flat out maybe even put out $250 or something like that if I was a betting man. I'm not. And just say, yeah, they're not going to make it. And I know some people could say, what about a hot winning streak? Again, some of these teams have already built themselves into such a big hole, San Jose, that it really wouldn't matter if they won 16 games in a row, because you've already got other teams that are going to be able to outperform them over a long stretch. But yeah, hopefully we're able to see some of these teams progress and build. Anaheim, Chicago, and San Jose really built for the long-term future in terms of how they want to be able to do things. Probably Chicago might be a little bit faster with Bedard. But Columbus, not really sure what they're doing, because they continue to spend a lot of money on some guys that aren't performing. And we are going to see what happens there. But yeah, those are my 4 teams. Again, I'm going to leave Montreal out of this for now, even though their chances look kind of slim. So are there any other teams that you would throw in there? Again, would the Habs be one of those that you feel like are a long shot to make the postseason, where you say, yeah, they're as good as basically not getting it done? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. I know, kind of a painful video to talk about, but subscribe if you're new, as well as we try to do more NHL or just hockey-related videos during each week. So everybody, please make sure to stay safe, have a great night, and you go off hockey all right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.